Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Digital Hustle. I'm your co host, Mike, and I'm here with my co host, Joe. And today we're going to be talking about podcast networks.
Yeah, so this is a follow-up from our last episode about podcasting. We got somebody a little further along ahead of us, about a year ahead of us. So, Trevor, if you want to introduce yourself, tell the guests about your past.
Hey everyone, my name is Trevor, and I have Social Frequency Network. Social Frequency Network, or SFN, is a media slash podcast network where we host original shows and content. And the purpose behind it is just to have a social factor in terms of bringing people together to discuss anything from business to tech and politics, even anything you want to. We just kind of combine these original content creators and voices together for the purposes of creating really cool content that's informative that people would enjoy. So I appreciate you, Joe. Appreciate you, Mike, for bringing me on the show. And I'd love to talk more about, SFN, Social Frequency Network.
Awesome, man. Happy to have you. Definitely. So, what inspired you to create a podcast network in the first place?
Well, it really started with just like one piece of content, like one show. Like I got one of my buddies together. I was like, hey, let's do something with sports or like just talk about it. Like I love to talk about sports. We always do this. Let's record it and see what happens. And I always listen to podcasts and things like that. So from there, I was like, wow, I have so many other interests, so many things I could talk about that I love to talk about with certain groups of people. So how about we make another show? And when you have two things, they kind of connect, like a network. So that's kind of where it started. And obviously watching other creators start to have, networks and, conglomerates of different shows together. And I was like, I can do that. Well, how hard is it? So just using that as my basis, I, started to create shows or reach out to folks like yourself in order to make original content that I thought was informative and interesting that I also enjoyed, discussing.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I got a question for you. So, how do you find people to partner with? Like, especially if you don't have any money or anything to start off with.
Gotcha. That's a great question. You kind of have to work on your sales pitch to get people to work, kind of like for free. You're selling them a dream, but kind of in the hopes that that turns into something further along the road. So the way I look for people, I look at my colleagues, my friends, in order to see, hey, you're really good at talking about a certain subject matter. I'm really good at talking about this. Let's join forces. Let's see if we have the synergy to match to talk about this at length in a way that is interesting and informative that, hasn't really been done or not quite to the level that we're imagining. So getting those like-minded people together to talk about something and for free, it's kind of like you want them, they love it so much, they want to talk about it for free. Like you guys love entrepreneurship, you love making, finding different ways to make money, earn income. And I think the internet and, digital hustle is just like that mindset. So, even the content that you guys have, it's all about just, enhancing that, making sure you guys have that voice, have that place, that platform to do that. So that's how I find it. I find people that love what they do, love to talk about it, and they're willing to do it for free until we've reached that point where we can earn money, we can earn income from it.
A question I had about that, like going to it is, I guess, how do you know it's going to be worth it? Like in the beginning, because of course, like podcasting, there's not a lot of like money into it unless you get sponsorships and things like that. So how do you balance that part?
Well, that's the thing. You never really know, but you do know people. And you know people to a degree where it's like, I know this person's probably going to have the work ethic. They're going to want to see it through, even when things might be difficult. You kind of identify those types of people. And also, you hope you get along with them as well. And you kind of just see that through. You can, like you guys determine this when you do different partnerships and business dealings. You know the people that are going to be a little flaky, and you know the people that are going to, show up and want to do things. And even if it's a bad day, they'll still push through it. So it's kind of a little bit of that. And then it's just, you know, you see this turning into a brand deal or potential, or you just know the people you're working with are like-minded like you, and you can, parlay that into something else. So it's just kind of knowing people a little bit and also understanding the economics of it. Like, you're going to invest, let's say $200 maybe to start this up, whether it's equipment, advice, strategy, meetings, time, and then over a course of time, you're going to turn that into, oh, we got an ad sponsorship. I know we guys all, can, branch off from this. So just a few of those elements for sure.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was gonna say, talking to a lot of people, when you're networking to find people for your shows and things like that, and you're just talking to your either inner circle or just outside of your inner circle. It's funny to talk to people about that kind of stuff because you find out that they're really interested in something, right? And
Yeah.
with you, it's pretty cool because you have multiple shows, right? And so like you can kind of, if they have, an opinion or some kind of expertise in an area that they would want to talk about, it's funny to see people they want to get on your show and they want to talk to you and they want to get, just talk to everybody on the podcast. And it's pretty funny to do that. And so to find opportunities to be able to do that is pretty cool. But I was wondering too, like, do you ever have issues with people like, the creativity of their dreams? Like, do you ever have any issues like managing that or trying to develop that with them and you guys don't see eye to eye? And if so, how do you deal with that?
You're always going to run into issues working with people and just personalities, of course. But the way to deal best with that when I face challenges are to really understand your role and everyone else's role. So if you know you're about to be, the head honcho or the main guy in charge, creating the vision, make sure you explain that well to the people you're working with. And when it comes to certain creative decisions and certain liberties like that, that you express, this is for the business. This is the best, foot forward. This gives us the best chance to succeed, whether that's from the name of something, the way you want to describe it, to everything from like artwork sometimes, because somebody could have this really, I want to say like crazy vision for an artwork that, they may not see that it doesn't work. Like, okay, maybe this is offensive or something like that. Like that could be a crazy scenario, but ultimately you understand and know like, okay, maybe we go with something more boring, but it's going to keep us out of like potential, headaches potentially. So it's like everything that comes into the creative side, understanding what I bring to the table in terms of that, and then what the other guys, what I want them to do. Like, hey, you're really great at this component of the show, giving these hot takes, or you just have such a great voice, whatever it might be, just making sure everyone understands their role and what they are bringing to make this whole thing worthwhile.
Cool. So yeah, Trevor, so if you had to start again with all the knowledge that you have, like where would your main focus be? Like what would you initially drill down on to make sure you either get right or like, that's where you're going to start?
I would make sure that I was heavy on the fundamentals, just from you need a mic, you need something decent, probably a camera, some decent lighting, an environment where you can always sit and record, and just really focus on those fundamentals, and then make sure I have a partner probably to practice with, or someone that is doing the show. So if I knew I wanted to start off and do, tech, I'm going to find a friend, a colleague, somebody that knows tech and see if they'd be interested in speaking with me, and from there I would, turn that into a segment, a show, whatever it might be, practice, editing, or find the best software tool that can kind of do things for me, an AI tool or something like that. Figure out ways to write descriptions without spending, too much time, too much effort on it. Obviously, look at example videos. There's so many tools and people that, how to start a podcast, So it's like I definitely watched some of those things, but maybe I did them like out of order, or I started creating and then I watched, some videos afterwards. So I'd probably start with just those to get the basics down, and then you have to get that before you focus on the finesse and all the graphics and all that cool stuff that people want to do, but they just don't even have a mic. So I'd start with that.
Yeah, like we were saying before, like you don't really need it to be perfect, right? But you
No.
to be good and then be able to put it
Yes.
out so you can move on to the next one. Because you like you
Sure.
said, when you look back at certain things, you're like, oh, I could have did this or I could have did that. But that's your opportunity to grow in the next episode or couple episodes. And always,
Something else, if I might add, is really outlining how I want a show to go. Because sometimes you can get very excited about the prospect of doing something or doing a show, and that can turn into, 2, 3 episodes. And then it's like sometimes people don't plan beyond that. I mean, I have the foresight to do that, but I think I'd go a little bit beyond. What does season 2 look like, season 3, and what are some of the things I hope to accomplish? So I'd really kind of focus on writing those things out versus just doing it. And obviously you do it just to start, to push yourself, but really having an idea if I had the same knowledge and was starting over.
do you often see a lot of people's like vision change when you start talking about like long-term stuff? When you talk about long-term in the beginning and then as you guys work on it, do you generally see that shift a little bit, or do you think that stays pretty consistent just with the customers you've had?
What I see is that people don't think about the vision long term. They think about, oh, I want to talk, or I have to get this off my chest, or whatever they're feeling at the moment. And it's like sometimes it's like motivation. It can be very short lived. It can be in the moment. It can last for, if you're talking about a podcast, a couple of months, And it's like you have to sustain that. Do you want this to go on for 5 months, or do you want this to go on for 3 years? You have to really think about those things and the time that it might, just really take. So I think a lot of people don't have that vision. They just think, oh, it's popular. I'm just going to get a mic and camera and start talking and I'm going to blow up potentially. And then it doesn't happen and they're discouraged. So I would say a lot of people don't have that vision. So it's really good to have that, thought out and how long do you want to do this and how much do you want to delegate it and so, so forth.
So how do you manage your expectations with going into it and also your time with like having a full-time job and doing this on the side?
Well, I'll start with this, Joe. We're all trying to be like you when we grow up, fully into the business, entrepreneurial side of things. But for me, I manage my time by, priority based, tasks. So it's, if I know I have a meeting coming up, I'm doing my, best to prepare for that meeting later that day. And it could just be a pre-production meeting, like a sort of thing like that, where we're organizing topics and, really fleshing out different items. A lot of my meetings, I'll have them on a cadence. So like, I meet with another client, another group on Sundays typically. And, I have my notes prepared for that. So it's really easy when you just have time blocked off for it, even if you have a 9 to 5 or anything else going on. In terms of managing expectations, I think it just goes back to really outlining what that vision is and like overly explaining it to people, even if you have to repeat yourself several times, because eventually it's just gonna it's gonna stick or it's gonna click. And then when everyone understands your vision, that's what a leader, that's what a manager has to do. You have to be able to, beyond anything else, beyond any work, communicate your vision effectively so that everyone can grasp it and understand it. So I would just say communicate, over communicate, and just belabor that point home. So, if someone asks you like about, hey, what are you doing? Like, you just like that, you just got it. You can, regurgitate whatever that information was, whatever the plan is. And that's what you want because everyone's on the same page. So just overly communicating is really just how you manage expectations, really.
Yeah,
Can't say I didn't say it.
yeah, you got to be
Yeah.
crystal clear.
Yes.
Is it like a 50-50 thing you use to manage your time now? Or do it's like how do you like sway
I
one
would,
or the other? And is it one thing
that's a
you're
good
looking
point.
towards?
Great point. Great point. Well, in terms of managing between like, 9 to 5 job and other business ventures, which I have two of, including Social Frequency Network, it's all about, some days you're going 70 with SFN, 70% with SFN, and maybe that other 30% is divided between like your 9 to 5 and like your personal life for that particular day. And then there are other days where it's just like, okay, the 9 to 5 job, it needs your, most of your attention. So that's a 60%. And you split 40% between your other business venture and whatever else you have going on. So it's really just about understanding what the day calls for, when you wake up in the morning. And I'm sure you guys kind of have plans and notes and to-do list on your phone that you kind of map out the day before because you have to, and then adapting and pivoting as you need to. So for me, that's how I do it currently. I would love to find a better balance, but there really isn't a better balance. You kind of just have to get used to, it's like lifting a heavy weight. You just kind of like over time you get stronger and you're able to do that consistently. So I would say I'm at that point where it doesn't feel as much when I hear people complain about, oh my gosh, I have work today. And then like they have nothing else later, but they're just like, I'm like, dude, I did like 3 jobs today. I feel like, and it's like, I don't really feel as tired as I might have. And that could have the fact that I like doing it versus like, it's something I don't necessarily want to do. But still, nonetheless, it's
Yeah.
more work.
Yeah, but you also
And I think
believe
that's
in
a
what you're
good
doing.
point. And I think that's a good point too, is that you don't have to like quit your day job to like get into what you actually want to do. Like it is a path to do it on the side, but it has to be like that dynamic, like you said. Some days you're gonna be more on the other and more some on the other, and you're gonna have to play catch up sometimes.
Oh yeah. And the shift in the gears is like that's an acquired skill, I would say, because you could be going, 80 in one direction and then you gotta like hit the brakes, slow down, maybe drift or whatever, and then like, go circle back to something else and like, get to 80, like quickly, sometimes. And that's just kind of what it requires. But yeah, just you get used to it. It's like a muscle.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so you do wear a lot of hats, in running the network and the business side of it. I mean, you got the business part, you're producer, and you actually are part of the shows as well. So what's your favorite part? Which one do you like the most if you had to choose?
I would say my favorite part is kind of being like, you guys know Birdman, CEO, Cash Money, Young Money Records. I like being like the CEO with the hands, like I'm all up in everyone's project, like just in everyone's stuff. Honestly, that feels fun to me because I feel like I can kind of pop up anywhere and just just be involved with it. So I like working with people and collaborating and seeing what they're doing, seeing if I can help out. So that's really a combination of the two. Just you're on the producer side of things in the background, but you're also willing to step up and be in the video and just do whatever is necessary to move it along. I think Quentin Tarantino does that a lot. He's like in his movies sometimes, and he's behind the camera as well. So just that dual role, I think that's like my favorite part of it. Just being able to do both at any point in time, and both to do them well. It's not like lacking on any side. Just the ability to do it and the ability to help something because overall it helps SFN. So
Yeah. So I got a question, and you can share as much as you want to about it. So how do you go about generating income then? Like through the podcasting and through all these businesses? Or is it more of like you got a
great
daytime job
question.
and it's funneling your dreams?
Yes, yeah. Don't quit your 9 to 5 jobs, people. If you're funding your dreams through it, so that's a big component of everything. Just having that job that gives you the ability to slowly, build out your dreams, do different things that you want to. Overall, you start to see things matriculate back to you as you invest in good tools, whether that's a good mic, a good camera, good software, and then you use that to, like I mentioned, have someone work for free for you, or maybe you barter or trade services. So you kind of build that up, that rapport, and then before you know it, like you're on YouTube, you're on these other social platforms, you're gaining, I don't want to say notoriety, but you're gaining, clout. Like, people, you like to use that word. And, before you know it, you've got something on some platform that has like 10,000 views or something like that. And you can turn that into, look, well, I can attract 10,000 viewers or something. Maybe I should have a sponsorship, or a brand deal or whatever it might be, a code to get a discount, whatever it might be, because that slowly starts to turn into something. And then once you get that going, I don't want to say it's safe and it's, consistent, but it's as close as you can get to that. Like, you're getting an average, certain clicks or certain views that are going to generate this amount of money, and you can put that back into the business or expand into a new set of tools that's going to help, continue to grow. So it's all about getting there and taking advantage of those opportunities for sure.
Yeah, so if you want to leave the audience with any tips, going into this space, any skills that you think you had to learn pretty fast.
I would say going into this space, be prepared to not make money right away. If that's your goal to make money right away, you're in it for the wrong. I don't want to say you're in it for the wrong reasons, but maybe that's like the eighth reason you should be in it. Like, out of like 10. But just be prepared to spend money and not see a return monetarily quickly. Be prepared to manage people and personalities, even overly communicate. So saying things a lot. Sometimes it's meetings, sometimes it's, just time overall that it's going to take. But if you like doing it, you're going to be able to, it won't feel as bad. It's just, part of the process. And you got to love the process for sure. I would say don't quit your 9 to 5 if you have it. Don't, not that I'm doing that, but just like don't do that, because if you are not prepared to, or you have that revenue stream like really coming in, then it doesn't make sense, obviously. Like that's like a no-brainer. But I would say those are like the biggest things. We can't all, just jump out and just, be like Joy automatically and just, have everything moving. Some of us it takes us a little longer, but we'll get there.
But
So
but
that's what it's
but
at.
honestly, a saying I heard online is like all the time. It's like you never judge a person by where you see them standing now. It's like because it's like you normally will see this person. It's like, oh yeah, it's easy for you to say, but that person
Yeah.
don't see the 6 years that you didn't make no money and didn't do anything. Yeah,
Or the risk you
I
had to
said this
take
to
by
Mike.
giving up your main job. You know what I
I
mean?
think
yeah.
I said something to Mike in the past week or so off camera. I was like, look, it's the overnight success or overnight success story. It's like it was like 6 years of grinding and then it happened in one day. It's just like
Yeah,
something like that. It's
yeah.
always that effect. It's never like that person was doing the same thing consistently for a minute. And then obviously at one point in time, opportunity met preparation and boom, then it looks like it were overnight success. You're getting 200 views and then you had that one video, that one piece of content that really struck, and then it just like 100,000 or something. So but you were consistent. It happened because you got those 200 consistently. So
Exactly.
And the thing is about most people is they let that opportunity pass by 'em. Like a lot of times, even just throughout the day, if you just think about how many opportunities you may just come across and then you just think about it later on, like, man, that could have been a nice opportunity.
Yeah.
One of those things like, you know, you got to pick up the phone and call if you're trying to sell it, you know what I mean? Or else you're never
Right.
going to be able to talk to
Or
somebody.
even if you're trying to get something, you're like calling their phone every day, you know, like within reason, you know, just like, hey, didn't you forget about me? Like I'm still here, you know, I can still do this, whatever it might be. So absolutely.
Oh, I was gonna just say I think I do admire the like having the part this full time job and doing it part time. If I had to do it over, I would definitely go that route instead of going through the stress of trying to figure out how to eat. Personally.
Awesome, everybody. Well, I think that was a good conversation. But before you go, Trevor, I just wanted to, you know, ask you, what can we expect from Social Frequency Network? Like, what's on the horizon?
You can expect shows on top of shows on top of shows. You can expect more digital hustle. We're still, you know, working together. We're looking to just continue that pace, increasing every metric, everything possible with it, to boost you guys up more. Original content in the world of sports, business, technology, just anything that you might have an interest in. We're looking to build content and then have like host, you know, display it. So that's more of the same, and then some, I guess.
Awesome. Looking forward to it, man. Cool. Well, everybody, thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoyed this episode.